This podcast series is brought to you by World of Coffee Dubai and DXB Live. Expand your specialty coffee brand into the fastest growing specialty coffee market in the world by becoming an exhibitor at the next World of Coffee Dubai in 2024. I will be there, so head to worldofcoffeedubai.com and join the mailing list to get notified when booth registrations become available. Check the show notes for further details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and joining me today on the podcast is Edgard Bressani. And this is a part of our series from World of Coffee Dubai. It's just that neither Edgard or I are actually in Dubai. Let me explain what happened. On the last day of World of Coffee, the third day, we had some incredible conversations. And the conversation that I had with Edgard was absolutely up there with one of them. The problem was all the files got corrupted and we have had to re-record the conversations. So Edgard has at no notice done me a solid and is re-recording the conversation with me. And we are going to explore the same question that we did at World of Coffee. So Edgard, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure, Lee. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come back and talk.
It's my pleasure because the conversation that we had was, I think, the gateway to a conversation that's going to start to happen over the next at least decade. And so we're exploring the same question that we explored the other 2 days at World of Coffee. And that is, what is the future of specialty coffee in the Middle East? So from your perspective, first of all, maybe give people a background about what you do, and then we're going to kind of catapult into that question.
Well, I have played many roles in my career, starting from being the director of Brazil Specialty Coffee Association. I managed, as a CEO, a large agricultural division with coffee, cattle, eucalyptus, and a roastery and coffee shops in Brazil. And nowadays, I have my own exporting company called Latitudes, which is the only one in Brazil that does the 34 different regions. Wow. Thus, I can do caneforas of high quality and also Arabicas from the entire country. So this is what I'm doing these days. And of course, I have a chance in my position to travel, and I travel 180 days a year, which is sometimes a lot. But I enjoy, we have so many friends in coffee nowadays that some of my best friends are coffee people.
And you collect Tim Tams along the way, right?
Yeah, the package you gave me lasted for 2 minutes, because when I opened it and I gave it to my mom and my dad and my brother, they were like crazy about it.
Everyone's a Tim Tam Slam fan.
Yeah. Yes, I have to start importing from you.
Hey, you just let me know where to send them and I'll hook you up.
All right. I'll give you the prize at the end of the interview.
Perfect. So let's talk about the future of specialty coffee in the Middle East, because it was really wild. The kinds of things that we saw in the Middle East. I know you spent a lot of time there, so it wasn't wild for you, but me going in there, and I had high expectations. They well surpassed my expectations of what I saw over there. For you, especially with being somebody who exports into the region, what are you seeing as, from a green coffee perspective, is going to be a real game changer over the next, let's say, decade in specialty coffee in the region?
We have to remember that the region is such a nice place to be. I've been there so many times, not only to Dubai, but to Qatar, Kuwait, and I'm dreaming this year to go to Saudi Arabia. There's so much happening in these countries. And what I like the most is that every time I go, I have my checklist is to explore the new coffee shops, because there are so many. And so many of them are specialty coffee shops, because we see today a trend of coffee shops opening, and they are all after high quality coffee. And this is a region where people have the resources, they have money enough to pay for whatever coffee it is offered, if it is a coffee that is extremely expensive or not, but of a high quality. So they invest, they go out. We have to remember also the culture. So since drinking is not a habit and it is not allowed most places, socializing happens in coffee shops. So you see the locals, the Miratis, and also the expats, all visiting coffee shops and enjoying. It is not the case of people that can only afford the coffee, which happened in many countries when we had the pandemic. People wouldn't maybe go, or even after the crisis in the US back sometime, when people would give them the pleasure of having a coffee, but they maybe couldn't afford having a meal in a good restaurant. But coffee is a different story. It's more, I think it is easier to spend money in coffee. It is not so much. It's something that it's out there for everyone. So I see them always following the trends. Whatever happens outside the Middle East, is happening there. They are really traveling a lot, making efforts. I see new products. I sport coffee pulp tea, which is similar to cascara, but it's dried in a different way, so it is much safer. It has no residue. It has high antioxidants, high chlorogenic acids content. It has fibers. It's probiotic. It's amazing. So I have clients that import them, and then they prepare concentrates. But I even had a chance to try the coffee pulp tea in the gummies version of it. Like the Haribo. Yeah, they were delicious. This company, Three Coffee Roasters, they had not only the gummy bears with the
doing
cascara,
so much, aren't they?
but they also had one that was called Spanish latte. That was a combination, a white and a black one. The one what was the coffee, the other one was the milk, which is a famous drink in the region still. And also we have to people say, oh, we don't want to serve Spanish latte. I think we have to be democratic and understand that some people have their preferences. They love sweet things, and the important thing is that people consume coffee. And the more we offer good quality, the highest the consumption will be. And a number that I have been mentioning, and if anybody hears me talking, is about the growth in demand for coffee every year. And when we have a number of 2% a year, which is not a lot, because specialty coffee grows much higher than 2% in many countries. We will have to double the production of the world by 2050. So we have to reach 300 million coffee bags. Who is going to be the players? Brazil, of course, has an important role in this growth. We have Indonesia, we have Ethiopia, Vietnam, of course. These are the biggest players. But then also question mark for Uganda and China. China. I was recently in China before coming here. I was one of the brave people to cross the borders of COVID wall in China. Spend there 8 days in quarantine, and I had a great chance to visit. I'm an Yunnan ambassador for the qualities. For the coffees and their qualities, and I've seen that the world is doing their homework. You go to China, where in the past they had no tradition of specialty coffee, and now you have geishas, you have special preparations, and people are always trying to find new things. And even my project has a sentence. We say every coffee tells a story. Latin Foods, my company, didn't even need to exist. I just connect people. I connect farmers to roasters. This is what is important, to bring the stories of all these small farmers, and even from Brazil, people have a different idea of our reality. And maybe because when the Specialty Coffee Association, Brazil Specialty Coffee Association was founded, it was founded by some big players. And so people were visiting mostly these farmers that were starting the specialty coffee movement. So they had the idea, people have the idea that all farms in Brazil are huge and massive. It is not true. We have, maybe more than 90% of our farms are small producers, and they're getting even smaller every year because, fathers, they died, they split the farm, for the kid. And then if you had 10 hectares, now you have 3 hectares. And so this is what's happening. But the beauty of the Middle East is, again, the fact that they can afford to bring all these new items, new things, and They are always updated. The consumption is good. It's extremely good. All the countries are doing a lot of efforts to bring specialty coffee. I'm very happy that the event happened. It has been happening there. I've been judging the brewers competition. I've been always very active doing presentations at the Dubai coffee event. But this one, the World of Coffee Dubai, is in the calendar, for the second year. I don't know how are they gonna do it. That I imagine there is a lot of other countries, hoping to explore the possibility of bringing, such an event to their countries. But it was amazing. A very nice crowd, nice companies, nice people, nice presentations. So Dubai, is one of my favorite spots.
We've already been booked for next year, which is going to be very exciting. And it's going to be bigger next year. I mean, I don't know how you top this show. It was fantastic. DXB Live did an amazing job. Shout out to Fadi and the team. It was so good.
It is incredible. Even during the pandemic two years ago, the show wasn't only the World of Coffee Dubai. It was not only coffee. It had other sectors there in other halls, but they are always doing state-of-the-art events. They are so careful about selecting things and offering. They're very correct people, and I enjoy a lot being in the Middle East. The culture is also beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, it's so respectful and
safe.
And it's safe. It's such a safe.
Wild how safe it is.
I think people have the wrong idea about
they
everything.
They really
do. Brazil has issues, but no, it's not the entire country that has problems. Depends where you are. In any big capital in the world, you can have problems if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. But Dubai, you can walk 3 a.m. in the middle of the street, alone. Nobody will do anything. This is very safe, and there are so many opportunities, in terms of tourism spots and restaurants that are amazing, and coffee shops. The coffee shops are just like scenic, and you can select.
How beautiful are they?
I never book a hotel with breakfast because why?
Why? The food's great, the coffee's great.
There's so much to explore. So I spend my time every morning going to a different coffee shop or visiting friends that are some clients and friends that are friends forever.
Yeah.
So Dubai is the hub. And also we have to remember what they have created with the DMCC, which is an opportunity for people that wants to bring their company to Dubai. They can be there, they can place their office, they can even receive letters or have phone calls received, even if they are not there. They have the service for that. You can have your independent room where it's your office, and all the other possibilities they have for the ones that are working with them. Like you can rebag your coffee, you can store and warehouse your coffee there. You can give trainings using their labs. You can roast your coffee there. You can package different ways. So it is such a thing that helps, the entire Middle East to expand their presence. So in the getting back to the end of your question, when we talk about this 10 next years, this next decade, certainly the Middle East will play a very important role, as other regions will do, but they certainly, have seen in coffee something. So we are blessed that the Middle East is so involved with the high quality coffees. And what we have to do actually, and what worries me, is that by China being number one in 2040, they're growing very fast. Brazil is going to be number two. We are consuming more
as
than
a consuming nation, you mean, or a growing nation?
Consuming nation, yeah. China will be number one to 2040. Brazil will be number two. US number three. We are growing, and we also have to remember that Brazil and US, they consume more than 20 million bags, but Brazil has only 200 million people. The US has 300 million people, so our consumption per capita is higher. So this is what we have to think now is How do we create a system where producers and importers and roasters collaborate to give back to the producers a price that is something that will make them stay in business? Because we've seen all this volatility of the market. It goes up and down. And most of the time, the producers are paying the bill, and they are the ones suffering because they have an industry in open sky. So we have hail, we have rain, sometimes we have heat, we have frost, with heat Brazil, and that's why the prices went up so much. But now, although I see a forecast for Brazil of a little bit more than 50 million, but the news and the fake news sometimes say 6 to 7, or so you have numbers with a difference of 10 million bags, which is ridiculous. We have no right numbers, but this makes the market to be very crazy, and the producers, the prices go up and down. But then how do we maintain people producing coffee, and how do we continue to grow in specialty coffee? Because back in 2002, we were offering still very little in Brazil, only 300,000 coffee bags, because it was the beginning of specialty coffee, 1991. We had the control before of the government and the Brazilian Coffee Institute. We could not export direct. So only a few companies had the permission. So your coffee would be mixed with other coffees from other producers, not necessarily good quality coffee. So Brazil was a quantity supplier, not a quality supplier, because of this control. And of course, I'm not criticizing, because it was also helping other sectors of the economy. I'm just telling you how it took a little bit longer for us to shift to specialty. And I think we are doing our homework. We are more than, I'd say, these numbers are also not official. We have no control of the specialty, but people say around 8 to 12 million bags, which is a huge increase over the years. But all these beautiful coffee shops that we see in the Middle East and everywhere, they are always after specialty coffee. So the production of specialty coffee has to grow. It has to follow this opening of new coffee shops, because otherwise people will be fighting for the same coffees. Because if only commodity coffees continue to appear. But before being in Dubai, I was in China visiting Yunnan, and I was surprised, and I was so happy to see the hard work of these people, and how they are now producing good quality coffees, geisha coffees. They were having so many fermented and anaerobic double fermentation. They are doing everything, so it's good for everyone. And we have to explore these countries and give them a chance, because it's hard to start, but then once you start good quality, it's a different story. And also Thailand. I had to leave China because of COVID increasing, and the numbers said that 800 million people would be infected and 2 million people would die. So my parents really got crazy and asked me to
please
leave.
Yeah.
Please leave. Yeah. So I managed to find a way out, because there were no many flights, available every day. A week later, I could fly out, and I flew to Thailand. And I was also visiting some friends' roasteries and mainly the specialty coffee producing regions. And I was surprised. It was so beautiful. And these people are trying to make the new generation stay, because this is also going to be a collapse. Nobody wants to work in the fields anymore. In Brazil,
Same.
Teenagers will prefer to work in a mall, in a restaurant, and certainly they won't, select coffee picking as their priority. It's very hard. But if people see a reason, if they are getting better paid, so kids will stay rather than try to leave, their farms. There are opportunities, and this specialty coffee is different. You have visitors. There's always something happening. It's incredible how I look back 20 years ago and where we were, even in terms of the competitions and quality in coffee, and where we are now. So that's why I think coffee is so exciting. There's so much happening all the time. We always learn. We have to be humble, because there is no 100%.
We don't know what's next with it.
Yeah, we don't know what is next. And also, Australia is such a fantastic place for me. I love it. I love the quality of the coffees. I love the service. in Australia, the only bad thing is that you go to a restaurant and you ask the waiter for an advice on some of the dishes, and then he describes it so well. You want that dish.
You want that. You want
Then
everything.
you ask about the other one, and he describes it so well that you also want the next one. But everything is.
We're very proud of that.
You have to. It's impressive and it's beautiful. And even if you go to a very small cafe, you will have the best, the best coffee. And this is what makes, I think, the industry, advance. And I'm very happy that I'm part of this industry.
Yeah. You do raise something that's very interesting just in the last couple of minutes that we've got that I want to explore with you. How does it work if China's going to be the number one consumer, Brazil's going to be the second largest consumer, and they're both producing regions? It sounds to me that a lot of that production capacity is going to have to now be used locally. What happens to the rest of the world if we add to that equation that there's going to be a collapse of industries around the world as younger generations decide to move out of coffee production? How do we actually keep up with the yield that's required to keep coffee consumption up?
This is the tricky question, because it's how we find ways to pay producers better to continue and people there. And even as I was mentioning before, in Thailand, it's incredible. You go in the middle of this coffee village and you will see these beautiful coffee shops, extremely well set with Marzocco machines or even other good brand machines, like stunning places, and people will be there spending the week visiting. So this is also a way for them to add more money, to do the production of coffee, because you produce coffee, you harvest at a certain time, and then you process. But then what next? You have to take care of the farm, of course. But how do I bring more income? So this is something. It's finding alternatives for people to continue, for students to go back. And I think now that I even have a presentation I do sometimes when I'm invited by the government in Brazil. I talk about the careers in coffee. There's so much, you can be an engineer and you can, a civil engineer, and you can be designing coffee shops. You can be an
agronomist, or
an agronomist, be taking care of a farm. You can be an agronomist, but you can also be a trader being an agronomist, because the production of coffee. You can learn about roasting, and you can even one of my partners, Pedro, is a young talent that I brought to the company so that I could, start slowing down my 180 days traveling. He's a complete agronomist. He's a complete professional in terms of he knows about the agronomy. He knows how to roast. He knows how to cup, and he's a trader. So this is the people we want for people that have the answers and so there are many possibilities. You can be a barista, you can be a roaster, you can own a roastery, you can be a coffee owner, you can work
e-commerce, all of it.
In e-commerce, you can be in marketing. Coffee is there, and so many opportunities exist. But then, of course, these countries will consume coffee more and more. That's why the production has to follow. This only 2% is going to double the production of the world, and it's not very far. To 50 right there, to 40 for China is out there. It's very close. So we have to keep on going and stimulating these people to continue investing in coffee, so that we find otherwise. But also going back to your question, not many producing countries are very large consumers of coffee. I remember back in 2006 when I worked for the ICO on a pilot project to increase consumption in producing countries, and Mexico, as a producer, was consuming only 800 grams per person. Which is not very much.
Annually.
Brazil, annually, yeah. So we did in India, Mexico, and Indonesia. We were trying to apply what happened in Brazil, the Brazilian case of success in taking off again in consumption to these countries, because we had a problem also in 1965 we consumed more than 4 kilos in coffee. Wow. And then we were, when it was 1988, we were consuming 2 kilos, a little bit more than 2 kilos.
So it went down.
The quality was so bad that people were shifting to juices and other beverages because they had the impression that all coffees were bad. But why? Because they mixed corn, they mixed, they left all the bad things of coffee, casca, the husk and everything. They would dark roast and sell to people, a way to make money, but they were stupid because they were shooting their own foot. So the industry came and they created a purity seal. This purity seal would be stamped on the coffee package, and only if you had maximum 1% impurity. We are not talking about quality yet, but people started saying, "Oh, this is pure coffee. It's not a mix of things, that people are offering us." Later on, in 2004, they created 3 different seals: traditional, superior, and gourmet. So these ones were then selecting qualities. And so they started working with the consumers, explaining, the difference of this one. Oh, this is a hard cup. This is a soft cup. Or it's a medium roast. This is a light roast. This is a dark roast. And also talking to the doctors community, because anything we had in the past was the coffee problem. You have a headache, it's coffee. You have a stomach ache, it's
stop drinking coffee.
Your finger is in pain, it's coffee. So we had to talk to the doctors community and start.
Did you really
remember? Yeah, I still really But we had to talk to the doctors and also bring the positive effects of drinking coffee. The concentration, antioxidants, and everything. That are so many, like Vanderbilt University investigating. So it was fun to see how this happened, and then these projects trying to support other countries, and other projects were born after this one's the pilot project, like Toma Café in Colombia. Colombia was also not a huge consumer of coffee. Brazil is, I think, one that consumes the most in terms of producing and consuming. So there is also opportunities out there, and that's what worries you, because these people can start.
And that's what I'm thinking, right? Like if producing countries are shifting, I mean, it's a clever strategy, right? Because now you disentangle yourself from the C market. You are now starting to sell locally. You don't have to engage exporters and importers and the rest of the supply chain, which leaves the Western countries trying to cultivate their own growing regions, which we're doing here in Australia. They're doing it in California, but they're never going to be able to get to quantities that service the whole country. Maybe in Australia, we've got a small...
because that are the limitations of climate and soils that are available for that. And also we have to worry a little bit more, this is one even more factor to complicate the scenario, is global warming. Global warming is shifting production different directions. It will, of course, in terms of Brazil, shift production to the limits of a 23-degree latitude, which is Capricornian line. But it will go to 24, 25, maybe, and explore. We have possibilities there. But when we talk about Central America, we don't have mountains that are, if you go up the mountains, you're going to a more limited area. The higher you go, it's smaller, it's not bigger. So if 1 or 2 degrees happen, a lot is going to be
impacted,
impacting us. And we also have all these problems. The World Bank says that in the next 3 decades we will have 1.4 million people leaving Central America and Mexico because of it's the climate refugees. So we have a future of uncertainty, but we have a future of people that love coffee, and they will always be trying their best. Researches, we have so many research institutes in Brazil and in other countries. In Brazil, we have UFLA with the IAC, the Instituto of Campinas, other Incaper in Espírito Santo. They are all researching and trying to find varietals that are more adapted to heat or to scarcity of water, trying to and of course also trying to combine that with quality, and even the robustas. Robustas are a new trend. This is a trend that I love. I became a coffee ambassador for the Robustas Amazonicus this year. I've been selling these coffees already for 4 years, but this year they invited me, as one of the people that travels and brings their stories to be an ambassador for them. And I was surprised when I had a cupping in Cacoal, and we had coffees from 82 to 92 Robustas. So we had all the R graders, using the R grading protocol. And I was like, oh my God,
I mean, that's the future, right? Like that's what everybody was talking about at World of Coffee.
Yeah, this is the future of fine caneforas, because of course the caneforas are there, but the way they did in the past by picking everything, the earliest possible, and putting fire as like the rocket fire, burning everything so fast. It gave them a bad quality. But now it's a different mentality of this new producers, young people that I visited that I was like in love with, and also like tribes of Indians producing coffees. And we have to remember and mention that these people, we are not like incentivizing people to grow coffee in tribes, but they have other products. Yeah. But what happened is when they were giving their land, and their land was how do you say, they had their piece marked as their area. This was given to them, and these were areas
like a treaty.
This was given to them, but bought from other people that had to give that area to them. So they inherited this, other, not only coffee, but other things, crops, which they continue to produce and sell as part of their income. So you have these families, and they are organic, beautiful stories, and I even met a small Indian named Edgard that I was like totally.
How
I have
nice.
a picture in my Instagram with this little Indian, very small, like 2 years old.
Bless.
It's a blessing to have an opportunity to travel like this and see and meet these people. But the job of the Robusta Amazonico is like impressive.
I definitely think that's going to be a theme at next year's World of Coffee. I think given how much people were talking about it at World of Coffee this year, I think it's just going to be, I mean, people have to start adapting from now. People have to start realizing.
And that's a good idea you just have given me. I will bring this selection of 82 to 92 coffees, and I will organize a cupping. I will talk to Hab.
Please let me know.
To have something, because it's important that we give these people a chance. And of course, we have to remember again that we cannot expect Robustas Amazonicos of high quality to be traded and sold by
at $4 a pound.
Because people they just want to.
People are greedy and they expect it, right?
No, it cannot be. They are their coffees you can drink alone. You don't have to blend them with anything. You have so many other exotic tasting notes that it's beautiful. It's delicious. Perfect. And it goes so well with lattes and cappuccinos, with milk. It's delicious.
Are you importing any of those coffees into Australia?
To be I think I can say, yeah. Ona took some bags, some boxes of our 5-kilo packages, because they were I think they were studying also for Link, which is phenomenal new roaster that I fell in love with, and I even want to import to Brazil. It's so easy. So and this is the reason why am I joining this project. If I can say about it, can I?
Go ahead. We have to wrap up in 2 minutes, but go ahead. Use the 2 minutes.
But the thing is that these roaster, it's affordable. Producers can use it. That's why I'm really happy about it, because it's just checking density, which is easy. You don't need a master roaster to roast your coffee. So this is going to give producers a chance to get to understand their coffees better. So this is something. But then these coffees are being sold to Australia, and they're in academia in Italy and in many other places. So I've been promoting, and I'm really sure that this is going to be the future. So many different taste profiles, new profiles. People enjoy. I love it. I love when I drink these coffees alone, and I say, "Wow, it's." And I have a book, and I had to, now I'm writing the 6th edition of it,
which you have to include this.
I have to shift because I always had like the canefras as low quality, because it
and now
was
that's changed.
ahead. Yes, but this has changed. So I'm
Yeah.
changing this because I have to give them the right information, about
Yeah.
this beautiful new product that's going to be out there for all of us.
Well, you and I are going to have some of those coffees next year at World of Coffee with a Tim Tam Slam.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring it and you have the espresso, but then you have to give me 2 boxes.
I will absolutely. Like I said to you, I'm going to get you to send me your address. I'm going to send you some Tim Tams, but I will bring some extras next year.
It was so nice. We don't have that.
So glad.
I
can't tell you.
People see that in a coffee shop in Brazil, they would be blown up,
We ended up being the social booth of World of Coffee because of it. Everyone was coming to have Tim Tam Slams. It was a lot of fun.
I wish I had been invited the first day because I would be back every day to have
you were
my
one
tea.
of the people that got to sneak away with the whole packets. So
yeah, true. Yeah, that's
there are
true.
a lot of people that asked us for packets, and I snuck one in for you. So, Edgard, this was fantastic. Again, thank you for being so generous with your time and at the last minute being able to re-record this episode. It doesn't disappoint at all. It was well worth it. The information is fantastic. Can't wait to have you back for a series later this year and to have you back on the podcast at World of Coffee next year.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to be given a chance to talk and share a bit of all these things we talked about. And I will see you definitely soon.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.